In the early hours of April 26, 1986, the world changed forever. A catastrophic explosion tore through Reactor Number 4 of the Chernobyl Nuclear Power Plant in Ukraine, sending a plume of radioactive material into the atmosphere. It was a disaster of unprecedented scale, one that would leave a lasting mark on the region and the world. Amidst the chaos and devastation, however, emerged tales of extraordinary courage and sacrifice. Among them, the story of the Chernobyl 3 stands out as a testament to the bravery of those who faced unimaginable danger to prevent an even greater catastrophe. Anatoly Dyatlov, the deputy chief engineer of the Chernobyl plant, was one of the central figures in the events leading up to the disaster. His insistence on conducting a flawed safety test, despite warnings from his subordinates, contributed to the chain of events that led to the explosion. Dyatlov, however, did not flee the scene when disaster struck. Despite being exposed to lethal levels of radiation, he remained at the plant, coordinating efforts to contain the damage and prevent further explosions. Valery Legasov, a prominent Soviet chemist and one of the leading experts in nuclear technology, was called upon to investigate the disaster. Recognizing the severity of the situation, Legasov understood that immediate action was necessary to prevent a full-scale meltdown that could have rendered large parts of Europe uninhabitable. Alongside a team of scientists and engineers, Legasov worked tirelessly to develop a plan to contain the spread of radiation and stabilize the reactor. Boris Sherbina, a high-ranking Soviet official, was tasked with overseeing the government's response to the disaster. Initially skeptical of the severity of the situation, Sherbina soon came to realize the enormity of the challenge facing his country. Putting aside bureaucratic concerns, he threw himself into the task of coordinating the massive rescue and containment efforts. Despite his lack of technical expertise, Sherbina's leadership and determination played a crucial role in guiding the response to the disaster. Together, Dyatlov, Legasov, and Sherbina formed an unlikely alliance in the face of overwhelming adversity. Despite their differences in background and expertise, they shared a common goal: to prevent further loss of life and mitigate the long-term consequences of the disaster. Working tirelessly, often at great personal risk, they led efforts to stabilize the reactor, contain the spread of radiation, and evacuate affected areas. Their efforts were not without cost. Anatoly Dyatlov, already gravely ill from radiation exposure, succumbed to his injuries just weeks after the disaster. Valery Legasov, burdened by the weight of his knowledge of the true extent of the disaster and disillusioned by the Soviet government's attempts to downplay its severity, took his own life in 1988. Boris Sherbina, too, would later succumb to radiation-related illness. Despite the personal toll it exacted, the legacy of the Chernobyl 3 endures. Their courage and sacrifice serve as a reminder of the human capacity for heroism in the face of unimaginable adversity. In the decades since the disaster, their story has been immortalized in books, films, and documentaries, ensuring that the world will never forget the events of that fateful day and the individuals who rose to meet the challenge. Today, the Chernobyl nuclear power plant stands as a haunting reminder of the dangers of nuclear energy and the potential consequences of human error. The sarcophagus hastily constructed to contain the remains of Reactor Number 4 is a somber monument to the lives lost and the sacrifices made in the aftermath of the disaster. And yet, amidst the ruins and the radiation, there is also hope. The story of the Chernobyl 3 serves as a beacon of light in the darkness, a reminder that even in our darkest hour, there are those who will rise to the occasion and show us the true meaning of courage and sacrifice.